Hello guys, welcome back to the Android development course. My name is Anieti Etuk and this is TeenCoders. Now, in this particular introductory part, we want to answer the question, why Android development? Now, if you look at the global market share for smart devices, Android alone takes more than 50% of the market. This is encouraging and it's one of the reasons why for beginners, we explore Android. Number two is because Android is open source. Um, and what we mean by when we say a programming language or a software is open source, it means is a computer software. Open source software is a computer software which, with this open source made available with license, in which the copyright holder provides the right to study, change, and distribute the software to anyone for any purpose. So whenever we talk about open source, in summary, it means you're not limited. You're free to use the software to study, to learn, software for which the original source code is made freely available and may be redistributed and modified. So other softwares for now, maybe in future they may change. Let's say for example, Apple and others, it's not open source, but in this case, it is open source. Take for example the chemistry or the physics lab in your school. You cannot allow students from other schools to come to your lab. So you have a closed source. Let me use that. But if it is open source, you look at let's say like a state library, for example, the River State Library, where students from different schools everywhere can come to the library to read and borrow books. So it's open source. It's made available to everyone. So this is one of the reasons why we. Sorry, these are two simple reasons why we explore Android. Now, the second thing we want to look at is how to build a software. Whenever we work with students in schools and other places, we always tell them that learning a programming language is not the core of what we do. Our core is, let us first understand what is called a solution development cycle, where what you're building it is based on, you want to create changes in the market, or you want to solve a particular problem. So for you to develop any Android app, one of the first things for you to look at is to follow this circle to say, okay, what is the requirement? Excuse me, and then you design, and then you do the coding and the testing and the deployment. Now, in the requirement, you simply ask yourself, maybe something is not functioning very well, or somebody is providing a service and the service is too slow, or you want to make something. We normally use five things. We want to make something faster, better, cheaper, easier to use, or trendy. So if I look at, for example, the transport system in Port Harcourt, there is always traffic. It's let's say, for example, on a bar road, there's heavy traffic. So can I develop an app where if somebody is driving in from another street, let's say the person is coming all the way from Transamadi, by with the app, the person can easily say, okay, the person can see that on a bar road there is serious traffic, so the person diverts. So at that point, I am providing a solution. Take for example your ATM card offered by GTB Bank, as an example. Now, instead of me to go to the bank and wait in queue and um, for withdrawals and all that, I can sit in my house with my token and my laptop. I can access the internet and make transfers and all that. So it makes the process easier. So in requirements, you should always ask yourself, what can I make? Can I make this particular thing? Can I make it faster? Can I make it easier for people to use? Can I make it better than what it is now? Um, can I make it cheaper, or make it to become a trend? Okay, then the second part is the design. The design is where you have a sketch on your paper, that this is how I want the app to look like. This is when people click, this is what should happen. You also go to the computer, and this is where the XML comes in, most of the XML. You say, okay, this is how the user interface will be. Coding is where we now have we now add the functionality, the commands, the instructions, and the controls. So if you're doing in terms of programming language like we did in our first video, you can say this is XML can help you to do this, and then Java can help you to do this. But both of them is where you do the Android software. Don't worry about the programming language. By the time we introduce the programming language, you see how easy and friendly it is. So after I build my solution, I then test it to say, okay, it's working. People would want to use it this way or that way, and then I put it on Play Store, or I share it through. I put it on Play Store for people to have access to it. So this is a simple circle when you are developing your applications. Now, the next thing we want to look at is what is activity. If you're building an Android app, one thing you should understand very well is what is an activity. So, an activity is a Java code that supports a screen or user interface. In other words, building blocks of the user interface is the activity. Now, let me go to a simpler and a definition that you would enjoy. An activity is an application component that provides a screen with which users can interact in order to do something, such as dial a phone, take a photo, send an email, or view a map. So we have different ways of defining programming, but in this particular course and for the students we're working with, we want to say we do activity-based programming, where for as the developer, you say immediately the user picks the phone, I want the user to click this button, and if he clicks this button, this picture comes out. When this picture comes out, the user saves the picture, and it automatically uploads the picture to his Facebook page, and um, um, and the user clicks share. So from the beginning to the end of that process is called an activity. So we should understand that when we mention the word activity. Then the last part I want to mention is the Android software that we intend to use. Now, to build Android, there are lots of softwares. If you just type Android development softwares in in Google, you see a lot of softwares that are available. I checked Wikipedia and I saw a lot of softwares. Now, since Android is owned by Google, there are two softwares that are official softwares. One is the Android Studio. That's download the official Android IDE. So the Android Studio is the official software package developed, brought to you and I by Google. And but for this another software again packaged by Google is what is called Android Studio. Now let me show you. Let me click this. So let's go to Wikipedia. So another software is called Android Studio. So for this course, if you check, this is Android software development. All that. This is the Android SDK, the main Android Studio. Now the second one is Android App Inventor. So for this particular course, we will be using App Inventor. Reason is it's simple, easy drag and drop. It gives you almost all the functionalities that you have in Android Studio. So in our next video, we look at how to install the App Inventor software so that we can start building applications. Thank you very much.